Okay, my butterflies, we are back once again, and I have, like I've always said, another goodie, never an oldie. But I have Miss Kim Plummer, and y'all, she was like literally dropped into my DMs, and I am so forever thankful. um, and she is, because she's inspired me to you know, think differently about my depression and think differently about my anxiety. And I knew I had to have her because I couldn't give it justice. I couldn't tell her words like she can tell it. So I had to have her on to speak her own words. So Miss Kim, could you please tell the butterflies who you are and so we can get into this?
Absolutely. I just want to say, Ms. Clark, I am just honored to be here. Thank you for having me on the Butterfly Chats podcast. I'm just excited to chat and to see where this conversation takes us. I'm a mental health advocate. I am an up and coming author, a creative director at Royal Lamb, and a certified neurofit trainer. And what that means is that I teach you how to regulate your nervous system by using balance exercises to create a new response to fear and to release all that nervous energy.
Mm.
So that is what I do. Of course, I forgot to say my name's Kim Plummer, um, but I'm I'm just excited to be here because I'm really passionate about anxiety. I'm passionate about depression. I'm passionate about helping people create better mental health. I like to say more so mental fitness, where you're able to
Mhm.
create this fitness level in your mind so that as different situations happen in your life, you're better able to handle them. You're not just buckling under the pressure and you're just stuck in the stress, but you're
Mhm.
able to say, you know what, as you mentioned, I can pivot. I can find a way to get myself out of this. So that is something that I'm really passionate about. And I'm just continually learning and continually growing and continually sharing. So that's a little intro about me.
That's amazing. I'm excited. Yes. And definitely learning how to, take the blows that life throws you because it's
Yes.
always lifing. Like, why does it do that? You know, it's always
100%.
doing the most. So, can you tell us a little bit about what brought you to this field? Like, what brought you to the love of anxiety, impression, and teaching?
Absolutely. So, man, it's just been a very long road for me. A very, very long road. I love what you said about like finding your posture to pivot. I love that. And I just like got to steal and snatch that phrase. It's so good.
Go ahead.
Um, because I was able to find my posture to pivot through honestly years and years and years of trial and error. I first had my panic attack in my mid 20s. It wasn't pretty. I went through this time where I was not eating, I wasn't drinking because I choked while driving.
Mm.
And because of that situation, I just was so panicky and fearful of eating food because I went through this panic attack. I didn't know how to handle it. I was just so terrified about it reoccurring. So my body was just in this fight or flight stage. I was just stressed. I mean, like I would wake up and like my mental capacity would demand so much of me that I didn't have to do anything. I was just so busy and so hyper aware and so hyper vigilant and focused to just, be careful about anything with my throat and anything would, when it comes to eating would freak me out. It was not pretty. So I went through that season of my life. And because of that, I, got to the point where my health was in jeopardy. My job was
Mhm.
in jeopardy. I couldn't work. I was having heart palpitations. I dropped 15 pounds in 2 weeks. Like I
Mhm.
was at a point where my body was being malnourished. Um, my relationships were suffering. I wouldn't go out with friends. I wouldn't deal with people because I just wanted to stay home. I didn't want to be around other people. I didn't want to explain because of all the shame and all the embarrassment around it. It's like, how do I explain that I can't eat? How do I tell you that I'm scared when it comes to having a meal? It was a lot to deal with. So because of that, I got to the point where I said, you know what, I'm just existing. Like I wanted to be asleep all the time. I was so depressed. I didn't want to live no more. I just said, I'm tired of this. I can't do this no more. I just want to just die. And that's how I felt. And I preferred to be sleeping, so I was unconscious. I didn't have to deal with my own brain. I didn't have to think about the anxiety. I didn't have to deal with it. I didn't have to face it. I was unconscious. It was great. So that was a season of my life that was very dark. It was like
Mhm.
a black cloud just followed me everywhere. And the only saving grace was my mom. Like, she was the only person who knew exactly what was going on with me. And she was always encouraging saying a prayer. And I suffered and struggled for 2 years like that. And it was difficult. And I felt like I was just at a point where just my mind was breaking down. Like, I couldn't handle certain noises, the sensitivity was too much. And I got so sick of my situation that I said, you know what? If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm just gonna just try to eat. And if I die, it just happens. Like, whatever. Like, I got so fed up and I
Mhm.
was ready to give up. I just threw that towel and it's like, I'm done with this. I'm done. And I just said, you know what? I'm gonna try to eat something and that's it. And me getting to that point, like hitting that rock bottom, it was the pivotal moment for me. That was a posture I needed to put myself into to pivot, because I
Mhm.
literally had to hit rock bottom and get to the point where I said, you know what? I'm going to live or die, but whatever happens, whatever the outcome, I surrender to it. And
Yep.
that was a pivotal moment for me. And then I started to eat small portions of food and, kind of get my body nourished again and so forth. And that was the moment that I was like, you know what? I choose to live. I'm going to live. I'm going to get past this. I'm going to work it out. I'm going to figure out how to make this get be something of my past. How do I get past this? What do I need to do? So it was a lot of trial and error,
Mhm.
and I figured out how to get myself past that stage. And there were different things, different challenges that came in between that season and even now. It's like there are different things that came up and different ways anxiety morphed itself into in my life, and was like, oh, you thought you got rid of me. Oh, well, here's
Right.
this. So I was like, oh my gosh. So it was just one thing after another. But I started to see a pattern, and I started to see that, oh, this is how I get to respond. So once I figured that out, I said, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I share this with anybody who will listen, because what I went through, the hell I went through, I was like, I don't want people to go through this.
Mhm.
So I said, all right, this is why I'm going to dedicate my life to helping people. And I have just been on that journey, and here I am. So now this is what I do. I help people with that, among other things, but that's like really a huge focus and passion of mine right now.
Exactly. And that that part, I mean, about like right when you think it's like right when you think I'm out, they pull you back in.
Yes.
Like you think you've beat it. Yay! I've been and it's like, aha,
Uh-huh.
I've changed into something else. I've changed
That's
clothes.
right.
You
That's right.
know, and that's the frustrating part because
Yes.
you work so hard to get through one level, but
Yes.
yet there's another one right there waiting on you.
Mhm.
And that's what usually what makes people want to quit,
100%.
because it's like, well, I keep trying, but it's always something else. Yeah, you're right. It's called
100%.
life. It's going to
Exactly.
always be something else. But
Exactly.
it's up to you to decide what you're going to do about it. So that I am certainly glad that you kept fighting, cuz like
Yes.
duh, we wouldn't be talking. You
No.
know, but I felt that. Like I
Yeah.
felt that so hard, like not wanting to be here. And usually the people with the biggest passion and the biggest purpose in life are the ones that usually get there. Have that attack. It's like, mm-mm, you shouldn't even be here.
You better
Why are
preach.
you even worried about it? You
That's right.
know? Nobody's gonna miss you.
That's right.
Lies from the pits of hell.
That's
you
right.
know, don't you believe that? So
You believe it.
that's usually the first sign. Like, wait a
Yes.
minute, wait, that's kind of dark. You know,
Yes.
but it's true.
It is. It
It's
is.
so true. So I know I was looking over some of your page and kind of going kind of like internet stalking you a little bit, and you mentioned about micro leveling and what was it? Micro leveling
Micro
and
macro level of anxiety?
exactly.
Yes.
So
Okay. So
yeah, explain that method and like explain the two different issue things.
oh, absolutely. So I see there's two levels to anxiety. There's the macro level and then there's the micro level. The macro level are the physical symptoms you're experiencing when it comes to anxiety, like the shakiness, the mouth dry, the throat tightening, the chest tightening, the heart racing. You're hearing your heartbeat in your eardrums. You're just like going through this state of panic. It's like all these physical symptoms that you're experiencing is what I call the macro level. to anxiety. And that level is the one that you need to master first.
Mhm.
Because if someone's in a panic attack, I can't say, hey, let's analyze your thoughts. Let's see what thought provoked that. That's the last thing they need.
Yeah.
They're like, don't get away from me. That's part of the reason why when people say, hey, relax, it's the worst thing you could say. The person is would if they could, you know? So
Right?
it's like, that's not what we want to address. We want to address what's going on, like the symptoms you're experiencing, your perception of like how you're physically feeling.
Mhm.
That's what we need to address. And that needs to be simmered down. And the number one way to interrupt that is for you to use your physical body to interrupt the physical symptoms. Because the way it works, our brain has now nerves going from our brain to our body, and we have nerves going from our body to our brain. In terms of like the ones that are sensory, they're bringing information from your body to your brain. The ones going from your body to your brain are more than the ones going from your brain to your body. That's why you can't outthink anxiety. So when
Mhm.
someone's in panic, you can't say, okay, let's try to relax. No, you need to do something to literally shift their focus off of the anxiety. Like they need to literally have their focus shifted. So that's why there's so many like quirky little things online where it's like, hey, throw cold water in your face, and hey, smell some Vicks, or hey, those things work in the moment because it shifts your focus. Like when
Mhm.
you're in a panic state, your body's just this shift of cold on your face. Like, so your body, your brain is like paying attention to the sensory input. Oh, there's cold. So it shocks you and shifts your focus. So that's why I say you need to find ways to simmer your nervous system down on the
Mhm.
macro level first before you start doing the inner work when it comes to anxiety on the micro level of thought
Mhm.
analysis and dealing with what are the thought patterns. Are you globalizing things? Are you personalizing your, things? What is the thoughts that you're thinking that are creating that anxiety in your mind? So before you can do that level work, you really have to make sure that your whole nervous system and body is more calm. So that's what I'm
Exactly.
about macro and micro.
Exactly. I know, cause I remember my first panic attack,
Yeah.
and I thought I was dying. Like, in fact,
Yes.
the people around me thought I was dying because they actually called the ambulance.
Man.
I was a preschool teacher. I was in class,
Yeah.
and I honestly don't even really remember. I'm like, I am, you know, speaking back what I was told because I don't
Wow.
remember.
It's
I
intense.
remember I had children on my lap,
Wow.
and then the next thing I know, I was at the hospital.
Mm-mm.
I do remember getting shaky. I do remember that, but I was, also had like some eating issues as well,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, maybe it's just I just need to eat something because I hadn't had lunch yet.
Wow.
Okay. Um, but then when the doctor told me, oh, it was stress. I'm like, Stress what? Like, what do you mean? Like, is that contagious?" I'm like, I think I just died,
That's
sir.
right. That's
I'm like,
right. It's
what
scary.
we talking about?
Yeah.
But I'm like, that that forever stuck with me. I'm just like,
Mm,
it can really take you for a loop.
it
And
can.
then, but I had to stop and think about it. I was early 20s,
Yes.
working two full-time jobs
Mhm.
in college, you know, just sleep. What was sleep? It's like I was just doing all the wrong things,
Yes.
you know, and my body was like, oh,
Mm.
okay, okay. She not gonna do it. So this is what we finna do.
That's right. That's
So
right.
we just finna shut down, you know? But you like, and it kind of it got a little better, but I'm hard headed, so it took a couple more years for me to really get
Still
it.
doing the most.
They're doing the most. Look, yeah, a little bit. Um, but yeah, so it's like learning how to, like, even like recognizing the early stages of anxiety, like
Yes.
hearing the palpitations,
Yeah.
the shakiness,
Mm.
like recognizing that and not just discounting it as something else,
Right.
because, and I think for me, and like a lot of things, a lot of people I speak to, it goes kind of goes back a little bit to like the generational things. Like, you have to be like, oh well, grandmama and them says it's this or that,
Yeah.
so it can't be that I'm just worried a lot.
Mhm.
You have to really just forget all that and think about your situation,
Yes.
your life, and think about how you actually feel. Like,
Yes. 100%.
because at the end of the day, it's gonna be you anyway. It's gonna be you that got to deal with it.
Yes.
So acknowledging, like, how important would you like, how important would you say it is to recognize that people put the physical recognition of those signs first, and like, and how would you get them to start to recognize them and acknowledge them? Like,
Mhm.
you people feel them,
Mhm.
but then they discount them. Like,
Yeah.
what would be something you would, tell someone to kind of get them to start understanding that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's like there's so much to unpack with that because a lot of times we have the tendency to suppress our emotions. And when you mentioned about being generational, is that's very true about how we handle stress, how we handle
Mhm.
emotions. We're taught to suppress things, we're taught to ignore it. It's not that serious. Don't make a big deal out of it. You're just too sensitive. You're just,
Mhm.
and it's like there are these little things that chip away at our soul, I like to call it, like things that we don't acknowledge that are actually bothering us or, upsetting us, or we feel nervous about or anxious, or we worry secretly about it. But we don't really talk about it because there's so much shame around it. It's like, oh, you're just being extra for no reason. You just need to relax, relax, calm down, da, da, da. So it's brushed off a lot. And I think that one of the ways to go about is really just you sitting with yourself and acknowledging how you're feeling and where you're feeling it in your body. That
Mhm.
level of introspection is something that not many people are familiar with. And I notice it, especially with older population, where I'll say, hey, do you feel, because I work in physical therapy as well. So it's like, do you feel your glutes or do you feel, your back? Oh, I don't know. I can't tell. And I'm just like, oh, wow. Like there's like this dissociation with our bodies,
Mhm.
and we need to create that association again so that way we can actually feel and know what it is that we're feeling and experiencing. So I would definitely say that just if you're starting out and you're just like, I want to figure out how do I learn how to feel what, like, know what I'm feeling. I would say get an emotions wheel, literally in terms of like trying to pinpoint what it is and literally sit with yourself 5 minutes a day and
Mhm.
just kind of scan and just say, what am I feeling? Most times people wake up feeling pretty anxious. Or if
Mhm.
somebody says something to you, sometimes people may just feel a burning in their stomach and they don't know why it's burning. You're kind of angry. That's probably what's going on, but we can't, it's like we're so dissociated. We can't pinpoint and say, okay,
Mhm.
this thing pissed me off. We're so good at just push it down, push it down. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter. Dismiss it. And then we lose that touch with ourselves. So we have to get very honest with what we're feeling and
Right.
start to see where in our body it shows up. Some people, they grind their teeth. Some people, they clench their hands. Some people get tension
Mhm.
headaches because there's so much tension in their neck. Some people have like this ulcer situation going on in their stomach. Some people have like pelvic issues because they're low back. It's like all these different things. It's like you're holding it because the body keeps score. You're holding it in your body. Most times when you're angry or you're tense from anxiety or whatever, your whole muscles, everything in your body, your muscular skeletal system is holding it. Like you notice you start getting very shallow breathing and you're just like, you're tight, you're tight, you're tight. You're holding it. So you got to figure out,
Mhm.
what am I feeling? What prompted this? That's the next question. What is it like? What's coming up for me? And you have to be honest with yourself. You don't have to tell anybody. You just got to be honest
Right.
with
Right.
yourself. This thing bothered me. She stepped on my toe. She said that she didn't like my dress. She made a little curd mark that I'm stupid. He said this. He looked at me that way. Whatever it is, figure it out. What is it that is bothering me? Because until you know what it is and you can pinpoint it, then you have a starting point as to where you're going to go next. You won't know where you're going if you don't know where you are. So we got to start
Exactly.
somewhere.
And
So,
I think that's the thing. People, like, because of the, like, training of pushing things down and not acknowledging where we are.
yeah.
That's, where you get situations where someone gives you the wrong coffee order and all of a sudden, like, you just blow up. It's because 3 days ago, you know, someone said X, Y, and Z, and you never said anything.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been building, and then it's like, the one little drop, and so I think that's why I like to really encourage people to journal. Like, You don't have to tell anybody.
You don't.
Like nobody has to know.
None of
You
our
just got to
business.
get it out of here.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
you got to get out of here and get it out of here.
Yes.
So that way nobody gets hurt. Like,
Yes.
everybody stays safe. You know, and but it's hard. I mean, hey, I'm talking. Look,
Yeah.
trust me. This is a wallflower who's now doing a podcast in 17 countries. This is not me. Okay?
That's right.
This is not the person that's supposed to be here.
Um,
Okay? So, look, I'm not telling you what I heard, I'm telling you what I know.
I
So,
love that. I love that.
so it's like it is a work.
Yes.
It's a
It
work
is.
and it's
It is.
ever changing.
100%.
But it's worth it to figure out who you are,
Yes.
like who you were are, not who mama wants you to be, cousin wants you to be,
Oh, preach to me.
none of that. Who you are.
That's right. That's right.
And once you get that down, then I mean, life's still gonna be life, but it's still a
Yes.
little bit more tolerable, a little bit.
Yes. Exactly.
So can you maybe like walk us through some like specific or strategic steps that you would maybe create for a client that would kind of help them overcome some of those paralyzing feelings that would, you know, help them start the process to begin to ask the deep questions,
Hmm.
to start journaling, to start analyzing themselves. Because look,
Mhm.
sitting with yourself is not easy.
No,
Like it,
it's not.
I would rather sit with a whole bunch of other people than sit with me. Cause me tells me the truth, and I'm
That's
not nice.
right.
I'd
That's
be like, now you know you was wrong for that. You know you shouldn't have did
Mhm.
that. So that is hard.
It
So
is.
how would you do that?
It is. I just love what you said because it is true. It is hard to sit with ourselves. It's hard to face ourselves, because we're so used to such negative self conversation. Like all of this negativity, of course, some of us have learned it from other people, society, just being hard on ourselves, just not being able to extend the same love and grace that we would to other people. It's like for me to do that for myself, I don't deserve it, because it's like we start to feel all of this self-loathing because there are parts of ourselves that we just are feel like is intolerable. Like I can't stand this part of myself, or I don't like this part of me. And for me, it started really with me starting to embrace the fact that, okay, I deal with anxiety. This is something I deal with. I couldn't expect other people to accept it about me until I accepted it about myself. Like I had to say, this is something that I deal with. I'm not going to try to be like anybody else. I got to accept that this is my lot to bear. Like this is my cross to bear. This is my lot. Like
Mhm.
that's really it. So it's just really first getting to that point of self-acceptance, like
Mhm.
loving yourself and understanding that just because you deal with anxiety or deal with your stress in an anxious way, that's really what it is. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you. It's just that's how you were taught to deal with it or how you learn to deal with it. And once you start getting to that point where you're like, okay, I start to accept myself, then you can start the process of healing. The process of, okay, how do I better manage my stress? How do I deal with things in a more healthy way? I always say when it comes to learn like the creating change in our lives, there are three things that are necessary. You need to first have a change in environment, like that is crucial. You need to have a
Mhm.
change in environment in terms of, like, for example, the things you're watching, the things you're listening to, the things you're reading, the people you interact with, the places you go. You need to have a change in environment first to create a change in your life. You need to also, when you're in that environment, you have a shift in your mindset because we're influenced by external influences. So it's like if I'm around people who are continually talking about skateboarding, after all, I'm gonna probably buy a skateboard because they're talking about it and they're doing it. So I'm gonna kind of like, well, I want one too. So it's like whatever environment that you're in is going to influence your mindset. So you want
Mhm.
to choose your environment wisely. And then that is also when you're going to start to learn new skill sets. I got the skateboard. Well, now that I'm around these people and they're doing it, I'm going to kind of start practicing rolling my skateboard around, and I'm going to, work on my balance and work on a couple tricks. You learn new skill sets automatically. So when you're in this stage of like, I want to be in a less anxious state, you need to figure out what are the things that are triggering me. Like, what
Mm.
are the things that I'm avoiding? Because that's the biggest indicator as to what triggers you. The things you avoid are the things that trigger you. I don't like that girl. I don't like the way she look at, she's triggering you. You avoiding her because she's triggering you. Like,
Right.
obviously, that's what's going on here. You got to first figure out what is that? Like, what are the things that trigger me? What are the things that create these thoughts in my mind? If like I personally, I don't watch scary movies. I don't watch
Mm.
news. It doesn't help me. All it does is make me more anxious. Oh my God, can you believe the big bad world out there? It's not
Right.
helping my mindset. It's not. So I stay away from it. You know what I mean? Like, that's how in terms of environment, I do not let those things in my environment because
Mhm.
I know that that's not going to help the mindset that I'm creating or I want to hold on to.
Mhm.
So that's how I go about it. I don't play with that. And then you want to also think about, okay, now I figured out what are the things that are triggering me. How am I going to respond to them? And this is where sometimes you may need someone to help you kind of create better ways. That's why a coach would be great, a therapist would be great, being in an anxiety group will be great because you have other people to help you better manage that and come up with solutions for you because
Mhm.
everybody's unique. So it's about what works for you.
Mhm.
And then you go on to the third thing is learning to, after you learn how to deal with things that are going to help you, refocusing on them, like you're putting in the reps with them.
Mhm.
So for me, it wasn't a 1, 2, 3 of just, okay, yeah, I had trouble eating. And then like 2 weeks later, I was fine. No, it was not. It was not. It was a lot of reps. It was a lot of conversation. It was a lot of, Kim, you're going to be fine. A lot of reassuring myself, a lot of like putting myself in the mindset that this is not going to harm me. Just because I swallow doesn't mean death. I'm going to
Mhm.
be okay. Like it took a lot of repetition because our minds work on patterns. Our
Mhm.
minds are not just like okay, yeah, I spit out one thing. No, it's a program. It's a pattern. It's something you keep doing over and over. That's why like automatic things, like even when it comes to anxiety, I believe it's automatic after a while because you program yourself. Your nervous system is used to reacting that way. So to undo that, you have to put in the reps. So to put in those reps, you got to put yourself in the right environment. You got to be in the right mindset. And you need to have those external influences that are going to help you put in the reps to create a new way of responding to stress and anxiety. So those are things I tell people to always like think about when it comes to like those first steps,
Mhm.
because you want to be successful. And the way to be successful in tackling this and not be so overly discouraged is to really put yourself in the right environment where you can create that. And then that way you can also shorten the time span. Like for me, it was a process
Right.
of 10 years. Like 10 years is a long time. So for me, I'm like, I don't want you to go for this 10 years. Like, no, no, no. Let's cut that down way shorter for you.
Right.
So I'm like, these are the things I've noticed in my journey that have helped me. And I know that, when you embark on this,
Mhm.
it will help you too. It will help you too.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and sometimes like like I'm really just recently learning that it's like a lot of times like the things that we go through
Yeah.
aren't necessarily for us or because
Yes.
of us.
Oh,
So it may take us a while, because we're fighting it because we're like, I don't like this. I
yes.
no 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 like this.
Truth.
you know.
Truth.
But once you get it, like, oh,
Yeah.
so as soon as I pass the test, I can move
Yes.
on. Got
Mhm.
it. So once you get it, then you can move on and
Yes.
actually go to be a help. But
Yes.
hey, we're human.
Exactly.
It is
Exactly.
what it is. You
Like,
know, but I get it. I mean, I preach to the choir. I get it.
yeah. That,
Um, so with those steps and all of those steps seem well, they seem very doable, especially once you've kind of mastered the mindset part of it.
mhm.
When you are thinking of in the way of like someone maybe with a chronic illness or someone who has been in an isolated state
Mm.
and they are in that mindset of I'm just going to stay here because this little corner of the world is comfortable for me because this is where my safe little spot is.
Mhm.
Give like what would be like that golden piece of advice you would give them that would say how important it is to have community, Why do they need community?
That's powerful. That's so powerful. I'm a huge advocate of community, huge, because having community for me has really strengthened my mindset, it has strengthened my purpose. It has helped me to get really clear on the part that I play in this world. And we are social beings. We really are. We're social
Mhm.
beings, and community is important. The right community is important. It's
Yeah.
very important. um what people think of us is extremely powerful. Like the external influences is extremely powerful in our life. People tend to live being people pleasers. People tend to live being concerned so much about what other people think of them. That's how negatively powerful community is in terms of the
Mhm.
outside influence of people are thinking about them and what they are afraid they will say. But having community is so powerful in the positive in terms of having people to build you up,
Mhm.
having people to pour into you, having people to believe in you, having people to support you as you go through the difficult things. It is extremely important when it comes to mindset because I don't remember exactly, but I remember reading about like how in prisons, how it's like the prisoners that they isolate start to lose their mind, I believe after a certain amount of days. Like
Mhm.
literally they start to lose their mind because they're not socializing with other people.
Mhm.
Like that isolation it's detrimental to your health, your mental and physical health. You need to socialize with people. The power of touch is, oh my gosh, astounding. Like we need to have people hug us and love on us, just even to regulate our nervous system. We
Mhm.
need that compression physically, to kind of calm our nervous system down. So community matters. It matters with your mental health. It matters with your physical health. It matters in terms of you just having the ability to just thrive. You need community. So
Mhm.
isolating yourself is really doing yourself a disservice. It's keeping you in a state that can prolong on and on and on, whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression, either or. It can keep you in that state when you are so isolated because you're also thinking so internally. You're internalizing all your thoughts on
Mhm.
yourself. And that does not help your mindset at all. It's not good for your mental state. We need to think about other people. I wonder if she needs a pot of soup because I heard she was sick and maybe some chicken noodle would be good for her. I wonder if this person needs a ride to the doctor because I heard that he injured his ankle. Thinking about other people, just even you just doing those little things shifts you and focus is no longer on yourself. You're not thinking
Mhm.
about what is me. You're not thinking about what you're focusing on somebody else. And that shift automatically can lift and enlighten your mood because and brighten your mood because you thinking of helping that person. You're not thinking about yourself. You're not internalizing it, you're thinking of helping them. The gratitude that they show back to you, it does something to your nervous system. It just
Mhm.
lights you up. Like literally, it
Mhm.
lights you up. It calms your nervous system a lot as well. So you need to have people to care about you and for you to care about. You need that. Like that's how God ordained us to be. That's how
Yeah.
he made us. So you are really doing yourself a disservice. And the enemy of souls, he has the greatest advantage with people that are isolated.
Mhm.
Keeps you down, like
Yeah.
punching you over and over down because he's like, oh, you're isolated. Oh, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. And you're so involved with self that you fall succumb to every single one of his devices. So you need to get out. You need to see somebody, even if it's to
Mhm.
take a walk, even if it's to go to a park, even if it's to be friends with a mailman. Like
Yeah.
let's spread out a little bit.
Baby
Just
steps. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
It
It's
it is so important,
vital.
and I think even as as hard and as terrible as COVID is and was,
Yes,
I think that enlightened a lot of people,
a
but it
lot.
also kind of gave a lot of insight into other ways to also be social.
Oh
Like
yes.
people who were already kind of isolated and already
Hmm.
in that, you know, one-on-one type state, and
Hmm.
everybody kind of had to be on one-on-one. And now that everybody is back out,
Yes.
you know, and now we're still kind of using those tools from
Yes.
COVID. Like we're still using, social media and live streaming and still reaching out across the world. And that part, like, that was the one great thing I think that came out of COVID.
I
You
agree.
know, it's like how that part, I was like, most everything can go back to normal. I just hope that never goes away.
Yeah.
That
It created
because
that flexibility of communication
yeah,
and community. And I mean, like, in my community at Royal Lamb, like literally, we are international. We have people from Australia, Japan. I mean, it's crazy. So this part of like, COVID and having that be the outcome. Listen, I don't want that to go away
mhm,
either because I'm just like,
yeah.
I probably would never have spoken to somebody in Japan or England if
Exactly. So
that was
I
an
had to
option.
get like a international clock because
Oh
like the
yeah,
time zones. I'm like, oh Jesus, okay. I'm like, help, Lord, be an international clock. These time
that's so
zones are
true.
wrecking my mind.
Seriously,
I'm
that's
like, so you
crazy.
like, are you saying it's tomorrow where you are?
Yes,
Like,
it is
really? So, I mean,
crazy.
but it it is, and for me, you know, before I became chronically ill,
Yeah.
I was I was always kind of like I was extroverted, introverted.
Mhm.
you know, like I'm an Aquarius, so I can kind of go either way.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
but preferred to be behind the scenes.
Yes.
But you know, now that I have chronic illness and things are all kind of crazy, I get it more,
Mm.
and I just know that having that isolation is horrible. And I've been in that stage.
Yes.
Because and now that I'm out of it, I'm like, okay, now, I need to be able to find a way to usher people out of that,
Yes.
out of that isolation, because it's not good. It's
Yes.
not. It's a bad place to be.
I agree.
And I love it when I can find people like yourself, who can explain it, explain in more detail as far as the anxiety, the depression, and how to actually um make it tangible,
Right.
because I just know how to do it just as a layperson.
Right.
you know um but can you like explain how um the like neurodivergent part of it, or the what's what you mentioned earlier, like the neural connectiveness of it, with the mind body connection part, how that works with being able to, I like to say, master depression, master depression, um
Yes.
and begin to look ahead, like look past like the horizon, and look past all the darkness, and begin to
Absolutely.
at least, even if you can't see your future, at
Yes.
least begin to imagine a possibility of
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
better than where
Mhm.
you are.
Absolutely. So, like, when it comes to depression, it's about like having hope. Most people are depressed because they've lost hope.
Hmm.
They don't have hope no more. And that's the slogan of my company, is like mission of hope, because a lot of people feel very hopeless and very stuck. They feel that this is it for me. I mean, what's the point? It's not going to get better.
Hmm.
There's no point to my life. There's no purpose to my life. So that is really what kind of pulls people down into that depression. And it's about creating that hope again. The way that our bodies work, when you said about the I guess neurological connections and whatnot.
Hmm.
So I mentioned it before about like how having that sensory input from the body to the brain, and how there's more
Hmm.
nerves body to the brain.
Yes.
So far in research, that's what has been discovered. So it's like, using if someone were to come up to me and give me a hug, like I would feel good. Why would I feel good? Like, why does that make me feel so calm and so safe and so, ooh, because all of that sensory input going up to my brain, they're creating the sense of safety, of course, because we
Hmm.
associate safety with hugs. And it is sending all of the sensory input to my brain, and is stimulating my parasympathetic nervous system, which is the
Hmm.
opposite of the sympathetic nervous system, which has to
Hmm.
do with fight or flight. We're pretty familiar with that. A lot
Yes.
of social media. So the parasympathetic nervous system is the system that I work on with my clients to continually stimulate. The
Mhm.
more you stimulate that system, the more you create that rest and digest. You're telling your nervous system it's safe to nurture, it's safe to heal,
Mhm.
it's safe to do all the things that it needs to do. When you're not in that state, you're not healing, you're not nurturing, you're not in a state of your body being able to rest and digest. You're just constantly on edge. You're always like angsty, like, ooh, busy, busy. And your body doesn't get what it needs and you're not
Mhm.
regenerating correctly. And you have all these issues coming because you're not able to get into that state where your nervous system can simmer down. So have this thing about like pockets of joy. Finding pockets of joy throughout the day, I use it as a way to just create that awareness of creating things to make you get into that parasympathetic state. So
Mhm.
I will post random things in my IG, like beautiful flower I saw that day, or gorgeous sunrise, or if I saw something beautiful that I just want to take a picture of, or I'm walking along and I just want to take a picture of a couple. It doesn't matter. Some birds, it doesn't matter. But creating that awareness and creating those pockets of joy and linking them together through my day is how I help myself stay in a more parasympathetic state. So I'm more calm. I'm focusing on things that are calming me and making me
Mhm.
feel joyful and making me feel happy. And that's what you need to do with depression. Like, you need to find for you what works for you, what puts a smile on your face, what creates hope again for you,
Mhm.
something to live for, something to look forward to. And you
Mhm.
really have to get down to like, what would that be for you? Would it be a great trip that you always want to take? Would it be getting some time with friends and family? Would it be like, you have to figure out what would it be that would really make me feel joyful? For some people,
Yeah.
in your situation, and other people in your community with having not terminal, chronic illnesses,
Yeah. Mhm.
having chronic illnesses, it can be challenging because it's like, oh my gosh, this is something that I'm gonna have to live with the rest of my life.
Mhm.
But then again, it's about shifting your focus on what can I still do?
Yes.
What are the things that are great? Like, I have good days and bad days, and I expect to have good days and I expect to have bad days.
Mhm.
Always adjusting our expectation is huge when it comes to anxiety and depression too, because it's like we want to expect it this way all the time, and then we get really depressed when it's not that way. So it's
Yeah.
like expecting that there will be good and there'll be push and pull, ebb and flow. There will be that. But the good days, oh man, let me tell you, I live up these good days. So it's like
Mhm.
creating that expectation, adjusting that and saying like, okay, this is my situation, but what can I still do? What are the things
Mhm.
I can still experience? I work with people who have had spinal cord injuries. um,
Mm.
I work with people who will never walk again. I work with people who their body is slowly deteriorating because they have a
Mhm.
neurological situation where their body is literally weakening. And every year that passes, they lose more and more function of their body. So I
Mm.
can understand where they're coming from. I can understand how it feels. I've never had that myself, so I can't say I get all of it, but I understand. And the difference between my patients who are very happy and joyful and those who are very, very sad and depressed is literally that difference where they're focusing. They're
Mhm.
focusing on, you know what? My grandkids get to come see me this week. I can't
Mhm.
wait. You know what? I'm going to have my favorite sandwich. We're going to go out with my wife. We're going to walk along the water and we're going to like, feed the ducks. Little
Yeah.
things that make
Yeah.
your heart sing. And that's just a reality because life really does suck sometimes. And it really does give us stuff like, if you told me like this, but why are you going through anxiety? I don't know. I wanted to die. Like, what?
Right.
You know?
Like,
But
why are you asking questions like that? Like, I don't know. It's like,
I don't know. And it made me really, really deeply depressed. So I can understand that. But it things shifted when I started to think about what can I look forward to?
mhm.
Because it's all about focus. What
Mhm.
am I focusing on? Literally, what am I focusing? Am I focusing on what I do have or don't have? Am I focusing on what I can and can't do?
Yeah.
Am I focusing on the past, present, or the future?
Mhm.
And am I feeling myself capable of handling what is ahead of me?
Right.
So there are, different things that interweave into that, but really has so much to do with your focus and finding something to live for and to look forward to. So when it comes to I want to make sure I come back to nervous system. So when it comes to your nervous system, you need to find ways to keep your nervous system in that state.
Mm,
So that's why I say about external, internal triggers, things that are externally triggering me or whatever. I'm going to make sure I filter that. Like it's better to keep certain things out and put up walls and say, no, I'm not going to put myself in that situation or position to absorb all of that. So I kind of put
mhm,
buffer that. Internally, I work on my mindset. I work on the fact that I want to keep my body in this state. I want to feel good for as long as I can, especially with people who deal with pain. I
yeah,
want to feel good for as long as I can.
right.
So, a lot of pain perception has to do with your mindset as well. It really
Mhm,
does. So, if you're in a mindset of just negativity, you tend to feel more pain or your pain scale is higher.
mm,
That has been
that
shown in research as well. Yeah. So,
and and I speak to the part in that vein right there. Speak
mm-hmm,
to how important or how it connects with our mindset and like the negative thoughts and emotions we think about ourselves or a situation
hmm
and physical pain.
absolutely.
Like,
The
yeah,
emotions that you're feeling, like if you stay in the negative emotions, you are putting forth like all of this, you're putting forth like this energy in your body. You're keeping your muscles more tense.
mhm,
And the more tense you are, the more edgy you feel, the more you're prone to to feel pain at a higher scale. Like literally, research shows this. So
mhm,
when you are more calm, more relaxed, you're more in a mindset and a frame where it's like I am more happy, I'm more joyful, I'm more calm, I'm more in a just an easygoing. I'm just taking it as it comes. It's like your pain, your rate, the way you rate pain is
mhm,
way less. It has a lot less just automatically. Like it's just so much more like less sensitivity to pain. Like there's less of that sensitivity. And that has like been proven over and over in research. So it matters the mindset that you have. It
yeah,
really does. You may still feel pain, but it won't be on that high level because
exact, and
it's
it won't
meant
be
to,
as intense.
no, it
It
won't be as intense.
it wasn't until and honestly, it wasn't until I became chronically ill
Yeah.
and got into physical therapy and started getting the physical therapy training and
Yes.
the mindset work, the breath work, all that, do you feel your glutes, can you feel the bottom of your stomach? I mean, because
Yes.
they went to, because I have like spinal stenosis and a whole bunch of other things of not rattling
Yes.
off, and they did that, and I'm like, don't I don't have a butt. What do you mean? Okay, like I have one. I'm supposed to feel that.
I have to convince my patients all the time.
I'm
Do
like,
you
I'm supposed
have
to do what now? And they're like, okay. They're like, okay, you know,
the muscles are there. So
like I can't, and it. So then, they give you the homework. Go home and work on
yes.
these exercises.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, once I started journaling,
Mm-hmm.
sitting with my doing all the steps that we're talking about today,
Yes.
that I realized the tension
Yeah.
that that I did hold tension in my back.
Yes.
That I'm like, I could be sitting at a desk, and I'm like, oh, my back hurts so bad.
Yes.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I can't take my medicine. I gotta wait a little while, so let me try my breathing workout. And I
Mm-hmm.
would do my breath, and I would feel myself relax. I'm like, oh, then I'm like, oh, why was I squeeze? Why was I squeezing my back? Why was that? That
Yes.
everything would just kind of relax. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
why was I doing that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it was like probably because I was stressed about something, or and it would all kind of unpack itself,
Mm-hmm.
So so all of that is like, it is very, very real,
It is.
and it kind of all, and then with me, like I go back, I'm like, okay, so back in my 20s when I had my first panic attack,
Yeah.
I've always been high strung, like I've always been that, I've always been a perfectionist. Everything had to be right. If it wasn't right, it wasn't right. And it wasn't
Yep.
right till it was right.
Yeah.
you know, I either two jobs and school, so, you know, um,
I know
so I'm
that.
like, well, dang, like then I'm like, well,
Oh.
did I make myself sick? Oh, but then here comes the self judgment. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I did this to myself. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean,
But you
it's
didn't
a
mean
whole,
to. You didn't mean to. Like I have to be
yeah,
you didn't mean to. And that's the thing. Like people don't say, "Oh, I'm gonna be anxious. It's not
right.
that. It's in
It's
the
like, I'm like,
moment
if you
where
know what? anxiety feels good today.
Oh my gosh. No, at all.
That feels good today.
No, I
Never.
would never choose this for myself. It's literally just you're in survival. You're literally in a place of like, I'm just trying to get through the moment. I'm trying to protect
Mhm.
myself. I'm trying to create some feeling of safety and security because anxiety is because you feel unsafe and you feel insecure about something.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why it comes is to give you that safety, but it's an illusion. So you're literally trying to protect yourself. You're trying to keep yourself safe. You're trying to help yourself, but it's not helping you.
Mm-mm.
You just don't realize that it's not. The intention is never to put that upon yourself or make that be your
Yeah,
situation. Never,
exactly.
never.
And so that I think that is the whole, like, for me,
Yeah,
and I got and speak for you. I think for you is like the
yeah,
whole point of, like, what we're trying to talk about here today is like
mhm.
we don't want people to continue
No,
in that in
no,
that vein.
no.
Um, we don't want you to begin in that vein. If you're not there,
Mhm.
or if you're in the beginning stages, there's always a off ramp. You can stop. You can,
I
you know,
love that.
you can
Yes,
you
there is.
know, um, and it's okay. Like, you know,
Mhm.
um, so, like, as we get ready to close out, like,
Yeah,
what would be like what would be a closing statement that you would tell a listener, if someone, if it wasn't me sitting here, someone that was sitting across from you that,
yeah,
is anxious about
yeah,
any one topic, and they are just unsure of what to do,
yeah.
what advice would you give them?
I would tell them that, you know, first of all, just take the pressure off yourself. Let's start with that. Take the pressure off yourself. A lot of times the anxiety comes from this pressured feeling to perform, to be a certain way. There's shame around the way you feel. Take the pressure off yourself and just feel what you feel. I want to tell you that you have the right to feel what you feel. If you feel anxious, if you feel fearful, if you feel depressed, if you feel you have the right to feel your feelings. Let's start with that. So once you accept that you have the right to feel that way, then you can, as you said, go on the off ramp. Then you can start choosing differently. So first accept yourself, love yourself. You are enough. Like there's no question about it. And once you accept and embody that, then you can start seeking ways and avenues that work for you so you don't have to stay in that cycle anymore. You don't. I didn't. Thank God. I made a way to get out of that. And you don't have to either. So I just want to give you hope.
100%.
Yeah.
So, tell the people where they can find you,
Oh yes.
and if you have any offers or any, products that you want to
Yeah.
offer them,
Sure.
now's your time to let them know about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me. This was an amazing
You're
conversation.
welcome.
It was such a blessing. I enjoyed this very, very much. So thank you for that. You can find me on IG. I'm on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. I'm kind of all over the place. Just look up Angsty Minds. And I am also a huge part of Royal Lamb. I definitely want to tell your community about that because it's something I'm very passionate about. Royal Lamb is more than a brand. It's a vision. It's a community. It's a movement of like-minded people who are seeking to find their purpose. And what we do at Royal Lamb, we're a team of coaches, and we help through joint effort to create a community. It's a free community of people who align with their purpose. We want to help people get in touch with what it is that they are here to do, what God has called them to do. So how we do that is help you to kind of get through the anxiety, depression, the things that stop you from getting to your purpose, the things that are in between you, the limiting beliefs, the unhealthy lifestyles, the lack of self-worth, the need for self-development. Like we help you create clarity along those lines so that way you can get a clear like path from you to your purpose. And we believe that once you live in your purpose, then you'll be unmatched because you're going to be doing what God ordained you to do. And then you're just going to be serving people left and right. So
Mhm.
it'll be so much fulfillment and joy and love to your life because it's like if I wake up doing what I love, then what gets better than
Never
that?
work a day. Yeah.
What gets better than
Never
that?
work again.
Exactly, exactly. We have so many things, and we offer so much for like it's the spot for everybody. So we have one-on-one coaching. We have 30 days of consistency. Like if you're on this anxiety journey, like I don't know what to do. I want someone to kind of hold my hand. That's where you would have the 30 days of consistency. You could work with me. We have a Dream Maker, which is a specialized product that allows you to bring your dream or vision to life. It's a digital product that it will be helped, we will help you form it from scratch all the way to launching your brand. So you can be one step closer in aligning with your purpose. So it's like, no matter what your status is, no matter what your beliefs are, no matter what it is that, which season you are in your life, at Royal Lamb, we just want to have a place for everybody. So I'm really passionate about
Amazing.
it. Go check it out, royallamb.com.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure I have all of that information in the
Sure.
description.
Absolutely.
And I'll also have it on my website once the episode drops.
Sure.
And absolutely, thank you again for coming. Thank you
You're
again for
welcome.
sharing.
You're welcome.
Um, this is it's been a blessing. And butterflies, say I told you. I knew it. I knew she was gonna be amazing. So until next episode, I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.
Bye.